Live right here on Fox Business. Peter Barnes in Washington. Thank you, Peter. Republican Congressman John Sullivan of Oklahoma joining us now for his take on the president's budget. Let me ask the same question I asked our reporter. Do you think that the president effectively got his message out last night to the American people that this budget needs to be passed?
Well, I think President Obama's budget spends too much, taxes too much, and it's just, when is enough? And, you know, he's a great salesman, but just a terrible product. If he can sell this on Capitol Hill today, he can sell anything. This budget, it just hurts. And let's keep this in perspective, too. President Obama's budget, it creates a deficit that's greater than all 43 presidents before him combined. You know, he's talking about, you know, he always talks about creating jobs during the campaign, and even after he got elected, we're going to create millions of jobs. The CBO even says his budget is a jobs killer. It's going to have unemployment rates even go higher. Also, he wants to institute, to pay for a government-run health care system, a tax on energy on all Americans who turn a light switch on, who drive a car, who heat and cool their home. It'll cost the American family an average of $3,100 a year. This budget is no good for the American people. We're not going to tax our way out of this problem. We need to come up with a different solution.
Representative Sullivan, exactly how would he implement this? He addressed it last night in his press conference that he was looking for a cap and trade. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. I mean, this has been tossed around for years until someone like a country like China were to sign on to the same type of program. There's no way we could do that here in the United States.
Right, you're exactly right, and you make a good point. If we allow China and other developing nations not to be included in any kind of regulatory scheme or tax and cap system that Obama wants to institute, they would use that as an economic weapon against us. Again, in economic slow times that we're in right now, it would be absolutely asinine to do this. We don't need to have a cap and tax system in this country. American people are suffering right now. They're losing jobs, they're concerned, they're scared. And if we institute a $3,100, and that's a conservative estimate, on a tax on every American family that heats and cools their home, that drives a car, that is not the right thing to do right now in our economy. And he's using this money to pay for a government-run health care system, which again is not the right thing to do.
You know, sir, I think Americans are not only suffering from bailout fatigue, but they're tired of having fastballs whipped by them. And in the budget, or rather the sales, what do you call it, the sales slip, I would call it, for our president's budget plan, he's predicting a solid 3.2% growth through 2010. 4% growth for the year after, and then he's saying he's going to cut the budget deficit in half by the end of his term. Do you believe it?
The only thing President Obama is growing is the federal government. You know, the federal government employees aren't losing their jobs. The American people are losing their jobs. And we're expanding government right now. That's not what we need to do. That's not going to help us get out of this. You know, his budget, he says he's going to create millions of jobs. It's going to hurt. It's his budget. Obama's budget's a job killer, not a job creator, like he said it would be. You know, we don't need to tax energy either. That's not the right thing to do. We don't need a government-run health care system. This budget spends more. President Obama's budget creates a deficit that's greater than all 43 presidents before him combined. That's not a way to get out of this. That's not a way what the American people want to see, and they are fed up. They're fed up with the shenanigans here. They're fed up with Nancy Pelosi, who said she was going to drain the swamp in Washington, D.C., and she did not. There's more rats in the swamp than ever before. They gave these AIG employees a bonus, and that's absolutely wrong.
Well,
and it's business as usual on steroids.
Let me stop you then. Hold on. Okay, so it's clear how you feel about the budget. Let me ask you then about AIG. You just brought it up, Congressman. All of a sudden, you know, he comes out and he gives a primetime conference and nobody's talking about AIG and the bonuses anymore. What do you want to see be done about companies like AIG? Do you think that Treasury Secretary Geithner was right and that he wants to be able to create a regulatory body to govern AIG and other companies like it? Do we need to do that? Does the government need to have more say in how businesses are run?
Well, we need to get rid of these toxic assets. That's what we should have been doing earlier in the first bailouts that they did. But they haven't done that. They're addressing it now. I think that is good. But again, setting up a small board of billionaires that are going to create some kind of system to get rid of these toxic assets, we're forgetting about Main Street and the small businessman and the American people. They're not involved in this process. And I'm very concerned about transparency here in Washington, D.C., because it's been dishonest. They're slipping things in bills in the dead of night. We're not reading 1,000-page bills, and it's not going through the committee process. And it's wrong.
Well, you know, Michael O'Rourke is here, and he brings up that we do have a toxic asset plan, Michael. We just got it this week.
You know, Congressman, my question is as far as the capital...
We should have gotten it 2 weeks ago.
The capital purchase... the capital purchase program and the TARP money, I hear Congress go nuts about AIG, and I agree AIG is a problem and the bonus is a problem. But, to go back and want to tax the other TARP companies, and the original goal of the TARP was there's some companies that needed help, and there's a lot of companies that took money that did not need help, and it was so they would not shrink their balance sheets and contract lending. And I think when you don't make the separation between the two, and politicians just call everyone a bailed out company, you create a real problem for our recovery. And honestly, it scares me. As someone in the financial markets, the biggest thing that I worry about in this recovery is Congress. So it's a real concern.
Well, that's you, sir. You're Congress.
We shouldn't allow this to happen in the first place. We know we don't need to tax specific companies or individuals or groups. That is wrong. That's unconstitutional. What we need to do is make sure here in Washington that we do things that are honest, that the Democrat majority is dishonest. They're slipping things in bills in the dead of night. 1,000-page bills are not being read, not going through the committee process. Nancy Pelosi said she was going to change business as usual in Washington, D.C. She has not. She has failed. She has been dishonest with the American people. We're getting bills run to the floor, and economic bills run to the floor. They're 1,000 pages long. That absolutely, Nancy Pelosi hadn't even read this bill. And it gets done, and they insert a provision in there to allow these bonuses to occur. The process here needs to change. She said she was going to drain the swamp. She hasn't done it. We have more rats in the swamp than ever before here in Washington.
You mentioned that earlier.
You've
already said that. So we're going to leave it there, Congressman John Sullivan from Oklahoma. But thank you for being with us and commenting today.
Thank you.
All right, President Obama going on the defensive last night in his second